Can you provide us a little more of an inside look at Harvard? What are some things people wouldn't guess about being a student there?
I would say for the most part, everyone's.
This is Brayden, a student at Harvard. But you already knew that. Our story doesn't actually begin here on the Zoom call, but a few months earlier on Harvard campus. Unfortunately, the audio cut off for most of that original video and we needed to refilm some parts. But this is truly a story of everything happens for a reason. It was awesome to reconnect with Brayden, and while we don't have the stunning view of the yard behind us, we have a great conversation. He says many eye-opening things that have genuinely given me revelations. It also reminds me of how people are able to connect profoundly even hundreds of miles apart. Now enjoy. So welcome back to We Talk. Today we have Brayden. And Brayden, what are you studying and what year are you in?
I study economics and I'm a senior.
Okay, and why economics?
I found it was a really cool way to explore the intersection of people's decisions and money. So I really enjoyed behavioral economics as a field where you can study that kind of psychological approach to finance.
So it's like a broad topic, but you kind of see it more closely in terms of people's behavior and psychology?
Yeah, so personally for me, I explore the way that people and businesses make decisions and really what impacts those decisions. So whether it's historical impact, whether it's current economic impact, whether it's people's interests or trends in the markets.
Oh, I find that so interesting.
Yeah.
And I know there's kind of like a stereotype that like a lot of Harvard students are into like economics and like finance. Is this coming out of passion or is there a deeper motive there?
Oh no, for me it's definitely out of passion. I took AP economics in high school my junior year and was like interested in that, and only after I got here did I realize, oh wow, a lot of people are doing this for various reasons.
Yeah.
So it's actually 5 months later from the time we initially filmed that. The audio actually cut off, but we're going to leave off where we left off. So Brayden, can you tell me more about your high school journey?
Yeah, so my high school journey, I was really lucky that it was a decently large public high school outside of Philadelphia that had a large variety of things to do and experience to really go from. So within that, I participated in a bunch of different clubs, from theater and performing arts to voter registration drives to standard honor societies and things like that. I was able to interact both with the school community a lot, but also with the larger community around us.
Can you recall a specific moment or anecdote where you fell in love with the certain passions you currently hold today?
So I was big in business, like big into business, and I would say I still am. Started a business in my neighborhood when I was, 8 years old? And I ran it for 10 years. Can probably say I was profitable each year. Operating costs were below my revenues. I mean, as a 9-year-old, you don't have many operating costs, but I think running my own business and having experience working with customers, and even if it was in small settings, that's like mowing grass or taking care of people's homes when they were on vacation, that really got me involved and interested in how people interact with money and how people interact with people and how the larger economy works.
I'd love to hear that. And what specifically do you think made your application to Harvard so compelling?
There's a lot that can go into an application to go to Harvard. I'm sure you know. I wanted to show in my application a lot of both depth and breadth. So both showing that I had a lot of experience, like I mentioned, in honor societies, community engagement, but also that my interests were not just surface level and that they did go deep. So in my common application essay, I took a lot of time to write about my Lego city that I have and how that reflects all aspects of my life, both like my interest in economics, but also my interest in travel and art and design and community interaction, all those aspects. And I think that supplemented with depth showed not necessarily a siloed approach to who I am, but one that's very conical in how I have a lot to offer, but I also know where to focus my interests.
Yeah, I think the motif of the Lego really shows your ability to reflect and to tie all these things into a creative way and express that. That's really cool. Now, walk me through your college experience. I know it's definitely from 1 year to the next, 1 month to the next, it's going to be vastly different. But maybe you could tell us about some notable times in college or how you've grown as a person.
Absolutely. I mean, my freshman year was the COVID-19 pandemic, so that was very notable, I would say. Campus was different. There was only a quarter of all the students there, and it made social connections harder but more valuable. So I made some of my strongest friends that freshman year, people who stuck with me all 4 years, who I value beyond belief. And my first semester, I was in person on campus. Everyone was distanced and food was all in your room, and it was weird. Second semester, I was at home, so everything was online. And although that was weird, it definitely made the college experience a little bit easier. I was able to balance the new content with a familiar environment. Those people and those experiences freshman year made me more eager in later years to take advantage of the full college experience. Lots was online my freshman year, whether it was working with the radio station or with the venture capital group that I was in on campus. But as time then progressed, I made sure to go into the station, go to the events that the groups would offer, and basically not give up on the college experience. I think sophomore year was really where college really kicked off. That was when I really found the friend group that lasted throughout the entire college career. So my really best friends from freshman year resisted into a larger group, and that was where we did things like go into Boston more and go to parties on campus and have our first formals, which was really a great experience. Junior year was crazy for me. The really junior year highlight was I studied abroad my junior spring semester. I was in London for 5 months, and
Wow.
it was an experience that I would not trade for anything. It was so amazing. I made such amazing friends. I was able to meet people from Harvard there, who had already graduated, who were there visiting, and also
What were you studying there?
There I studied at University College London, and I studied mostly economics, but with a little French and a little art history.
Hmm.
So it kind of built off my schooling at Harvard as well. It was a really good supplement, things that Harvard didn't have to. That semester made me want to take advantage of everything Harvard had to offer my senior year. So I traveled with my choir, went to other universities for football games, and went to all the formals, and traveled into Boston and outside to New Hampshire and Maine and Rhode Island, and really just made sure that I was sucking up and soaking up as much as I could.
I mean, what a rewarding and also incredibly eventful 4 years, and I'm glad that you were able to experience all those things. Can you provide us a little more of an inside look at Harvard? What are some things people wouldn't guess about being a student there?
I would say for the most part, everyone's really nice. I think that there's probably a bit of a stigma that people are cutthroat. And don't get me wrong, people do like competition at Harvard. It's a big thing. Even just outside of the athletics. But in so many settings, people are also willing to help and collaborate and work together to succeed. And I think that was one of the things that brought me to Harvard, this support system that seemed to be there among the students. But I would say that I was surprised at how pervasive it really was and how everyone was just looking to find their place and find their people. And one thing that surprised me, and maybe for any college experience, but especially at Harvard, was how prominent extracurriculars and clubs and things were. I spent a significantly higher portion of my time than I expected in clubs working on things, like whether when I was the treasurer or a secretary of different groups, I was very committed to them as much as I would have said I was committed to classes. So that was a rewarding experience, and it also didn't feel to be unnecessary or superfluous. I was making tangible change, and I was surprised that me, a singular student in the long lineage of Harvard, could make such an impact in my 4 years there. I would try to think of anything else that's really would be a surprise. I think that there's a lot of famous people who show up to campus out of nowhere. So it's definitely surprising to see someone like Conan O'Brien just walks into our rehearsal, and I go, "Oh, hi!" This is not something I'd expect. Harvard has the promise of being a really international and diverse campus, and I find in a lot of settings it follows through, and in more ways than you'd expect. Not just from where you lived or where you were born or your ethnicity, but also your experiences and the things that you enjoy. Everyone is different, and in that difference really shows the strength of campus.
Great response. And taking along with what you initially said about the toxicity, a lot of the people watching this video are, ambitious and they want to learn more from a Harvard graduate. What would you advise to them, or what did you do during those moments when things might feel very competitive or perhaps even a bit overwhelming?
I think one thing to know is that almost every time that the situation is competitive, there's two sides of it. There's the person who's competing, so if I'm going for a spot in a club, and then there's the person who has to make the decision. One thing to recognize is that everyone has been on both ends of that. So the person making the decision about your eligibility or your performance was also once decided, and takes a little bit of pressure off, I thought, in understanding that not everyone was perfect and everyone had their path to get where they're going. I never took it personally. If you even talk to the admissions reps getting into Harvard, they always say there's so many eligible candidates that we have to narrow it down some way. Seriously, by the limits of number of beds that they have. And I think knowing that you are worthy, even if you don't get what you want, is something that I stuck with and got me a lot of places. There were plenty of times that I applied for groups or auditioned for things and I didn't get it. And looking back, I wouldn't have changed anything. So I think there's both the sense of knowing your own worth, but also knowing that everything happens for a reason. So looking back, I know getting into the one a cappella group that I really wanted to get into wasn't the right thing because I wouldn't have made all the great friends that I made in the other one I got into. So it's all a journey. Even the bad competitive parts that you don't succeed in make the journey what it is.
I completely resonate with everything happens a reason. When one door shuts, another door opens. I've personally felt that, and thank you for that really profound response. In less than a month's time, is it, you'll be going to Goldman Sachs?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, so tell us about that plan and what you're going to be doing there.
So if you had caught me about 2.5 hours later, I would have much more information for you. I meet with my manager for the first time today. But so I interned there last summer as part of their summer analyst program in a division called Platform Solutions, which is the division of the firm that is a bit of a catch-all for a lot of their pet projects and almost startup-like enterprises, whether it's their credit card business, their ETF launching business, or their transaction banking business. And there's a lot going on in Platform Solutions that I'm sure I'll be involved in. What that exactly will be, I'm not sure just yet. But I'm really looking forward to going to Goldman because I found this past summer, and I'm sure it will continue this year, that it's a lot like Harvard in the sense that everyone there is really eager to learn from each other. And at the same time, it's such a large firm that there's a lot to learn about. This past summer, I was in the management team of the division that I was in. And there I was able to really experience a lot of the different teams within my division, but also see really around the firm what all the different divisions in the firm do. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into a learning environment like Harvard, but just with something new to learn.
Awesome. So you definitely think that internship was a foundational piece to building your skill set to get to this final job?
Oh, absolutely. I think that one of the things that Goldman does with their internships is they bring in people with potential. And then they basically say, can we teach you the way we do things? Before that, I had never really worked in a firm this big in such a structured setting. So it was a new experience for me. I was able to build a lot of skills and also convert skills that I learned in school settings to a more professional setting. Goldman Sachs and their internship program helped me synthesize those skills into a way that then will help me succeed in the job.
That's really cool. So will you be then working stationed in New York, or is that just for the orientation?
The orientation for new analysts is in New York for a week. And then I'll be based down by home. So I'm located in Pennsylvania, but I'll be working out of Wilmington, Delaware. But I know from this past summer that my team is based all across the country. So I hope to be able to visit a bunch of different offices and really learn about, like I mentioned, the different roles that are on the team, but also the different offices and the different people who make up the firm.
Awesome. What students do you think get into Harvard?
That's a really big question. And I think the hardest thing would be to put a definition on the type of student who gets into Harvard. Like I mentioned, Harvard succeeds based on their diversity. Harvard is looking for a unique set of students who aren't all the same, but complement each other really well. And I think that students who recognize their own worth and also don't base their worth off of getting into Harvard. Like they will succeed in any setting. Harvard says, what we want you to succeed in our setting. Like almost that students who will take advantage of whether they go to their local state college, their local community college, or schools like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, they will succeed in all those settings.
It's kind of like going back to the Lego analogy, I suppose, where every piece fits together. But even if this really shiny, nice Lego brick doesn't fit here, they can thrive in another project or another Lego city.
Absolutely. I mean, I built both sets, but also design some of my own with my own things. And one of my favorite things to do is take existing sets and redesign them. And you can build that in various different ways. You can take a house, make it a spaceship. You can take a car, make it a boat. They all work and be successful. And it's just, if you are that Lego brick that is adaptable and useful in a variety of settings, I think Harvard will say, this is someone who can succeed in any environment, and we want to help them succeed in ours.
Wow, this is such a poetic discussion. I love it. Do you have any parting words for high school students watching this, or for someone who's also interested perhaps in, or let's break it down there. High school students, do you have any advice?
Absolutely. I think that I kind of mentioned it. Especially in the situation of Harvard, don't let Harvard define you. Even I going there having been a graduate, only consider it one part of my journey and recognize that I've learned so much from outside of that setting as well. So Applying to Harvard is a big deal, and in high school students that I've talked to from my high school, I recommend everyone applies. If you're interested, do it, because Harvard is always looking for all different types of people. But more specifically, whatever the outcome is, don't stake your self-worth on it, because you can succeed if you're ready to succeed in any setting.
And what about those in general watching this video who are interested in the field of business or finance or econ?
I think all three of those, business, finance, econ, are super accessible if you want to get into it. There's plenty of resources, probably even at your local library, that you can learn about it. And really what it comes down to it is, no matter what field you're in, whether it's fashion, entertainment, energy, even like banking, it's all touched by business, finance, economics. So if you're interested in it, learn about it, but be ready to be adaptable with it. And know that the bar to learn about it and get involved is rather low. So don't let yourself be afraid of this almost crafted behemoth that people consider finance or banking or economics to be. It's accessible if you're interested in it, and you can succeed with it in a lot of variety of settings.
I love that a lot. Well, thank you so much for your words today, Brayden, and best of luck to you in your career and beyond.
Thank you.